Famous last word.
Yeah, especially for Hilo. All right, you ready? I know, they hurt me though.
Hey, Gary. That might be Wayne Higaki. He said, someone need to let me in as panelist.
Is he iPhone 97?
Yes.
Last time, wasn't he like Patricia or something?
No, that was Kimo.
Oh, okay.
That was Kakumon.
Ah,
iPhone 97.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's him.
Must be him.
Okay.
Gotta change the name on his.
Yeah.
Name on
Put
it.
his name on his iPhone. Hi, Diana.
Hi, sorry, I had some computer problems. I have a new computer and I'm still learning it.
So did I. This is Wayne. Sorry. So did I. That's why I'm logging in by phone.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. We weren't sure who iPhone 97 was, so we were waiting to see.
That's my Japanese name.
Okay.
Wayne, you always make these meetings more entertaining.
Can you do a favor for me on there? Can you put a show non-video participants so we can see everybody? Yeah. Oh, he just came.
So where are you? Where are you, Wayne?
I'm in Waikoloa.
Oh, okay. I see the Mauna Lani logo on your shirt, so you must have been golfing.
I wish.
YouTube is working.
Yep, she just logged in now.
Okay.
Hi, Roberta.
Hello.
Hi, Roberta.
So Greg will be late and Bonnie is running late as well.
Yes.
So let's see. So we have Diana, myself, and who of the board members are at the library? Is
Andy and Mike.
okay, but Mike isn't a board member, so
No.
I'm just guessing.
Andy, Diana, myself. We need one more. So is Julie going to be attending?
I never heard from her.
We didn't hear from her.
Okay, well then we probably have to wait until Greg can join us. Or what about Billy Bergen, Dr. Bergen? Did he reply?
No.
Now, do you mind giving him a call?
Dr. Bergen?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it might be that he likes to be reminded
Oh, that's right. I didn't remind him.
Meeting.
Let me
Thank you.
give him a call.
I have his number if you don't.
No, I have
Okay.
it, but it's not coming up for some reason.
Let's see. Hi, Gary, and hi, Jesse, and hi, Diana.
Hello.
And hi, Mike. It's just I can't,
Hi, Roberta.
yeah, you know, the
Yeah, yeah.
very small, so.
Hi, Dr. Burgess, it's Linda. I'm good. You want me to join the Maunakea Management Board tonight? Okay, no problem. I just thought I'd double check. Okay, take care. You're right. He won't be able to attend tonight.
Oh,
Maybe I can give Greg a call, text and see if he can just join, on his phone. So at least we can get started.
yeah. Okay, so Dr. Bergen cannot attend.
Correct, yeah. He's not feeling well.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
I just asked Greg if he could join with his phone.
Yeah.
Well, while we're waiting, I can give you a little update. We had probably, 6 to 8 inches of snow. And we got to use our new snow blower. And it actually worked really well. Our old snow blower, we had a problem where, if it catch a rock, it would break a shear pin. And the guys were a little bit skeptical because the blades were a little bit smaller than the older, snow blower. But they didn't break one shear pin, and it went really well, so
Oh,
very excited. We, got a lot done. They worked really hard to get the road cleared, even despite the 100-mile-per-hour winds.
Oh
I
my
was a
God.
little bit worried about them. I was like, I think you should come down, and they're like, nope, we're good.
really? Wow.
Yeah, so, our new snow blower worked really well. So that was exciting for us this weekend.
Yeah. New technology, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like the whole thing was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was.
Well, pretty scary, I think, huh, for them.
Yeah, after get a little bit over 100 miles, then,
Great. Yay.
I think over 70 miles.
yeah. Thank you, Greg.
Greg.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So it is now 5:07. And I will call the meeting to order. We do have quorum. And for those attending via Zoom, including myself, is there anyone in attendance with you? If so, raise your hand. Seeing none, for the record, members attending via Zoom were just by themselves via Zoom. So I will now move on. Oh, let's see. There was no written testimony and no public testimony for this meeting. So we can now move to approve the minutes of the January 7th meeting. Any corrections or changes to what was circulated? Okay, seeing that there's no changes, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted, as circulated?
So move.
Thank you, Diana. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Andy. Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye or raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are unanimously approved. So we will now move to Kahukumana report.
Since Greg is traveling, he's not quite ready. Could we move to the agenda items and then come back to
Sure.
Kahukumana, the executive director's report?
Sure. So we will now move to Subaru sensor.
Yes. So Joy will go ahead and provide the informational update on that.
Okay.
And Sarah is bringing it up.
Should be coming. Aloha and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair Chu and Nahua. We are presenting two projects this evening for the Maunakea Management Board. The first is the concurrence request for the Subaru telescope. They are asking to install some sensors on the outside of their control building and also on their elevator tower. Based on the guidance from OCCL, we are requesting concurrence on these installations. The sensors are to measure sulfur dioxide, a toxic gas, and also Subaru is interested in the amount of dust in the air. The reason for these installations is to assist with observatory operations, specifically to make sure that their telescope mirror stays clean, and that they can close the dome if there's too much dust, and also for worker safety in the event of high sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide can also collect on the mirror surface, so they would shut the dome in that case. So they're again seeking to install 2 sulfur dioxide monitors and 1 dust monitor. Sulfur dioxide is a toxic gas, it's corrosive and irritation to the skin. It can also cause eye damage and is toxic if inhaled. Let's see.
Could you scroll down? I think there's a picture too of what it looks like while she's talking.
Yeah, the picture is toward the end on, it's the next page, page 7. And here, Sarah's pulled up the image that Subaru submitted that shows where the sensors will be installed. There's going to be an electronics box, as you can see in the inset, the top right inset in red. The electronics box will hold one of the sulfur dioxide sensors and a dust monitor, and that is going on their elevator tower. The box itself is less than a cubic foot. There's also an that one I think it needs an air inlet hose, you know, sample hose to pull the air in, so they detect the different particulates. And then on the control building, that's shown in the bottom of that image montage, that will have a more sensitive sulfur dioxide meter. And so it's those three items, three instruments that Subaru's looking to install. This CMS has determined that there are no impacts from this installation, no impacts to any resources, natural, recreational, or archaeological or cultural resources. And we recommend that this project proceed to OCCL for concurrence.
Any questions?
Questions?
So we consider this a minimal impact project, because there is no ground disturbance. And, so primarily this was for information.
Right. And this project, going through the committees, it was reviewed by the Environment Committee last month. Oh, I'm sorry, it will be reviewed next week by the Environment Committee. And Kabukumauna actually did not review it because they reviewed this in concept last year as part of the 3-year plans and felt that they did not need any further consultation. So it's just coming to the Management Board, Environment Committee, and then the MKSOA next week.
Any questions? Thank you, Joy, for the presentation. I think it's very straightforward. If there are no questions, may I have a motion to we're actually not, I guess we're approving to recommend. We're recommending, so there's a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Regents.
No, it doesn't need Board of Regent approval on this one.
So
It's just, this was a informational only, so I don't think you need any kind of motion.
all right, and it's minimal impact, so.
Yes, yeah, so there's no requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Roberta,
Yes.
my screen has gone black,
Oh no.
so I can't see anyone. And it looks, I can see the ceiling of the building, but it's right on the bottom of what I'm able to see on my screen, and the rest of my screen is black. So I'm wondering if the tilt changed or something.
I think the ceiling, that wasn't that Jesse, it's just, is anybody else on?
Jesse Suki is on.
Someone had the ceiling showing earlier.
Yeah, I'm on. I can see it.
Okay,
Oh, so,
Yeah, I can see everything fine too. I can see the whole room.
oh,
okay.
Same for me.
yeah,
I can only see a bit of the ceiling at the very bottom of my screen. Shall I leave the meeting and try to log back on?
so you know when you scroll, I mean, when you move, because there's 3 views. Can
Can
you,
you change your view?
yeah, you might,
Let me try that.
because I think they just turned off the presentation.
Can
Oh.
you turn the presentation off?
You know, now, hold,
Yeah, just to see if she can see everybody.
okay, now I can see you in a small square at the bottom of the screen, but I can only see the room. I can't see anybody else.
Oh, you can't see any of the Zoom
I can see you when you're talking. Let me try
So
next.
on that small screen,
It's back.
It's back.
Whatever I did, it's back.
okay.
Very much.
Okay.
You put me in the right direction. I'm
Okay.
not sure I did, but it worked.
It's in presentation mode.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay,
So again, for the record, we have received the information for the Subaru sensor project as an information only item, and therefore we do not need to take any action. So since there were no questions, we can move on to the Keck outrigger storage.
Okay, this is Joy again. The project is actually titled, the Keck Temporary Outdoor Storage. It doesn't have anything to do with the Outrigger project, but actually Keck, this is in support of.
I think I read it outrigger. I meant to say outdoor storage. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. So Keck needs to do this because they are actually doing indoor work to repair the grouting on the pier of the Keck 1 telescope. And we know from OCCL that whenever there's outdoor storage of items for more than 30 days, that requires site plan approval. That's what this project request is about. So Keck will need to store outside of their facility for the indoor work, an air compressor, a couple of storage containers measuring about 20-foot long by 8-foot wide, a dumpster, and also some portable toilets. And so if we go towards the end of the PDF, Sarah, I think page like 23, you can see a picture. It's just a mock-up of what the storage containers would look like at the Keck facility. They're thinking to put them just outside of their front entrance. Yep, there it is. I think maybe the next page shows.
And then you can switch the view if you can.
If we rotate 90 degrees clockwise.
Oh, cancel.
Oh,
Just, yeah, rotate, there you go, okay.
okay, thank you. So you can just see the items will basically be contained within the curtilage of their summit facility. This project was presented to the Environment Committee and to Kahuku last month. And Environment Committee had no concerns. Kahuku raised a few concerns, but ultimately had no objections to the project. Kahuku was concerned about the dumpster possibly becoming a nuisance for the public. People would see it and maybe try to climb all over it. They were also concerned that the dumpster be lidded or secured. As we know, we have some strong weather and high winds up on the summit, and Keck has agreed to get a lidded dumpster that can be locked. The Kahuku was also concerned about public access in this area, so there are going to be a number of contractors on site, about 32 personnel in addition to the normal day crew up at Keck. And so there's going to be a lot of people walking around, going to and from the storage containers, to the dumpster and so forth. And there was concern about blocking off the area. So there will be some impacts to recreational resources. As you know, Keck maintains the public gallery. They will need to close that for the project. They need the area for material storage, particularly because the grout that they're using as a replacement needs to be kept at a controlled temperature. Plus there's some dust when they remove the old grout. So they need to close up their facility and keep stuff contained. So there'll be some impact to visitors, and also visitors won't be able to park at what's normally open to them up there at the Keck site. This project will last from about March next month through April, and then again will continue from August to October. And so during that time, the active periods of work, these items Keck is asking to have outdoors, but in the interim, all of those will be brought down. So between April and August, Keck will look as normal without any of the equipment outside. Any questions so far? Anything else?
No. And again, this is, I'm assuming, a minimal impact project.
Yes, CMS considers it a minimal impact despite the temporary impacts to recreation, because there are no no impacts to the natural resources, none to the cultural or historical resources. Kahuku did ask that we consider the effect on view planes for this and all future projects. They identified view planes as those being star lines and ocean grid lines. So we are taking that into consideration for future projects.
Sorry, what was the first one? Star lines?
Star lines.
For cultural practitioners, that use star lines in their, religious ceremonies.
Right, but the dumpsters are gonna affect the star line?
No, no,
No, we explained that in this case, for the Keck project, all of the items are actually below the roof line and they're going to be tucked close to the building. So in this case, there are no effects to those view planes, but Kahuku reiterated their concern for other projects that
So
might affect.
Okay, maybe would it be helpful if they add a statement, like minimal impact, that, the project will have no star line or, ocean view impact. I don't know. I'm just thinking then you don't have to keep asking all the time.
yeah, we're working on that, adding something along those lines.
Okay, that's my only comment. Anybody else have any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, so thank you, Joy and Nahua, for the presentations, and I guess, let's see. Has Greg been able to come in online? Oh, so Bonnie just said she logged in. She needs to be added to the panel.
I think that's the vote. Which one? Oh, on the Keck project? No, no, back to right? Or is it there? I think that that's, Roberta, the Keck project is actually a site plan approval. So we do need a a vote on
A
that one.
recommendation to the board.
Yes.
Okay, so to correct my prior comment, the Keck outdoor storage project will need Maunakea Management Board recommendation to approve to the Board of Regents. So if there are no questions, could I have a motion?
It's actually a recommendation to the chancellor, so
Oh.
we can move forward, yeah.
Great. Could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Diana. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andy. So we have a motion and a second to recommend approval to Chancellor Bonnie Irwin. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous approval. Okay, Greg, so are you logged in?
Yeah.
Okay,
Got to my computer. Thank you. Sorry about that.
no problem. So I will turn over to you for Executive Director report and Kahuku report.
Okay. Thank you. Aloha, everyone. Sorry, I'm not able to, that I was only on my phone in the car, but it's been a little bit of a busy, crazy day. Anyway, Kahuku report. One of the things I was going to cover with you folks, we just discussed in reference to the Keck storage project. At their January 9th meeting, as Joy indicated when we reviewed it, they've now requested that part of our assessment of cultural impacts in going forward includes this idea of impact to the visual plane and the view planes. So I just wanted to highlight it as part of the Kahukumana report, because this specific request is the first time they've asked us to do something like this, to include a perspective like this in our reviews. So I actually think it's a good thing. And so we're going to have to put our thinking caps on best in terms of trying to understand how best to address this issue in future reviews. But I was actually glad that that request came forward, because I do think it's a legitimate aspect of assessing cultural impacts of especially projects that are going to involve some kind of alteration to a facility, the external aspects of the facility. So that's all I wanted to say about that matter. The other thing that we discussed at Kahukumana's last meeting was that Kaleo Pilago, our outreach coordinator, provided an update on his December activities. And due to the holidays and whatnot, it was kind of a quiet month. There were some things that some groups that we hosted and whatnot, but all in all, it was a quiet month. However, of note is one of the things Kaleo and Nahua and the team have been working on is to launch a staff training program. The purpose of which is to develop our staff's cultural knowledge of Mauna Kea and their comfort with actually engaging in simple cultural practices. Oftentimes when we have groups come up, they meaning the groups, the outside groups, will want to, kahea and oli their way in, asking for permission to come in. So they need to have a kahea call and a welcome and things like that. So Kaleo has now started a program in which he's meeting with staff. It's weekly and alternating Tuesdays and Thursdays. And they do it at the beginning of the day. As many people who can attend live at Halepohaku participate, but then there's also a Zoom option as well. And the format is classroom style with specific topics for each class. So, for example, recent sessions that Kaleo has done have focused on, for example, learning some traditional pule and oli. And then he utilized, he had them do an exercise where, in Hawaiian custom, it's very customary for people to introduce themselves. When they introduce themselves, they tell you a little bit about their genealogy, where they're from, who their ohana is, what their connections to the place are, etc. So one of the sessions focused on sharing their genealogy with each other as a means of getting to know each other and getting comfortable sort of talking that way with groups. The goal is to build staff comfort with integrating cultural approaches and customs into their work and with visitors and with each other. The sessions so far, as I understand, have been engaging and have fostered deeper connections among staff members. That's Kaleo's perception. And Kahukumana in particular was very supportive of the program and was pleased to hear that what we're doing to build our staff skills. So Kaleo actually went so far to ask him if they'd be willing to assist with special topics, and they did agree. So that was actually very positive as well. So Kahukumana will be meeting on Thursday for their next meeting. They've asked specifically that I cover some of the material I'm going to be covering with you folks next in my executive director report, specifically regarding proposed Mauna Kea legislation. So that'll be, I know, a focus of our discussion on Thursday. But that concludes my Kahukumana report for this month. Any questions, comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. So if it's okay, Chair, I'll just roll into my Executive Director report.
Yes.
Okay. Really going to focus on mostly just a couple of things here. Sarah, I'm going to share my screen. You all should have received this table. Try to do this. Can you all see that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit little, but maybe you
Yeah.
can zoom in a little.
Okay. Let me get out of here and just leave it in this mode. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much.
Okay. So you folks have this table as part of your meeting packet, but I just kind of want to use it as a way to refer my review. So the Mauna Kea Stewardship Oversight Authority has introduced a couple of bills in this session, seeking to, in one case, clarify some issues around the conservation district use jurisdiction question, and then in the other case, seeking an exemption, temporary exemption from Sunshine Law. So House Bill 143 and Senate Bill 769 are companion bills introduced seeking clarification on MKSOA's jurisdiction over the conservation district rules for Mauna Kea. As you recall, this was unclear in Act 255 when MKSOA was created. It was unclear as to what their jurisdiction over conservation district land uses was going to be or was. The legislation also seeks to make it clear that so what they're asking for here in this bill is that they would be responsible, at least in part, for all conservation district use permitting decisions. And I'll explain that a little bit more for third-party entities. They also in the bill seek to make it clear that they will not accept the transfer of the conservation district use permits that UH currently holds for the observatories. They will only accept assignment of the general lease, the subleases, the access road easement, and the conservation district use permits for Halepohaku. What they're proposing is MKSOA going forward would have conservation district jurisdiction and would issue conservation district use permits for any third parties operating on the Mauna. So that would be Mauna Kea, the observatories, or any other third parties that they decided they want to allow to do something on the Mauna that required a permit. However, they also are agreeing in this legislation that any permit that MKSOA themselves would need, such as, for example, improvements at Halepohaku, then they would seek the Department of Land and Natural Resources approval. So in other words, that DLNR would retain jurisdiction and authority over those permits. Their rationale is that it would be a conflict of interest for them to issue a permit to themselves, where they essentially become both a permitter and permittee. Hearings for these two bills have not yet been scheduled. Now, there are several issues with this that concern us. And we have discussed this with MKSOA. First of all, Act 255 says very clearly that conservation district use permits are to be transferred. So this is actually seeking an amendment of the act. Second, UH cannot, their position is that UH should continue to hold those permits. And what we're saying is that we cannot hold a permit for lands that we do not have property rights for. So once the general leases and subleases are assigned, we no longer have a property right. And as council has pointed out, this would be akin to a neighbor holding a permit that has some kind of authority or jurisdiction over your property. The third issue is that it creates what seems to be an unprecedented bifurcated permitting system between DLNR and MKSOA, at least when it comes to Mauna Kea. So some permits they issue themselves, other permits they would be seeking for their own uses from DLNR. Chair Chang convened a meeting last week on the 29th with UH and MKSOA. So Nahua and I and Jesse attended on behalf of UH concerning their proposed legislation. From MKSOA, Chair Komeiji, John DeFries, and their AG Jordan Ching attended. Chair Chang expressed concerns, obviously, over the idea of bifurcating the Conservation District Use Authority for Mauna Kea. And also reiterated that it has always been DLR's position that any permit that they issue, such as a Conservation District Use permit, the permit, the conditions, as well as the entitlements that they allow the landowner to do on the property. It's always been their positions that those permits run with the land. So if there is a transfer of ownership, those permits go with the assignment of a lease or sublease. That's always been their position and their practice. MKSOA is seeking to have the general lease and the subleases transferred to them. But they're saying UH, you keep the permits. So, obviously one option here, we don't know what's going to happen with this legislation. But as we've been discussing things internally, one option here would be to look at transferring the permits to the observatories themselves. However, that's not necessarily a straightforward process, because some of the permits, in particular TMT, have conditions in there that are very specific to UH and UH Hilo. So many of the other permits are generic enough that we think those probably could be assigned. But TMT and maybe a couple of others are going to need closer scrutiny. So at this point, as I said, hearings have not yet been scheduled. We anticipate that they will get heard. We just don't know when. We are preparing some testimony in preparation for when those hearings are scheduled that will outline these concerns that we have in more detail. So that's the status of HB 143 SB 769. Let me stop there and just see if there's any questions or if council would like to add any further clarifications.
Greg, I have a question.
Sure.
listening to it, do you see any benefit at all to the university from continuing to hold those permits?
If we are no longer going to be in charge or holding the general lease and whatnot, then no, I don't see any benefit. You know, the issue of us holding the permits is not new to us. I mean, we've talked about some of the challenges that creates internally for us ourselves, rather than the observatories holding those permits. However, I will say this, you know, holding those permits does provide the university and would provide MKSOA additional, I'll just say, leverage over the observatories in terms of what can or can't be done. You know, in addition to DLNR ultimately having enforcement responsibilities of those permits, they have us on the ground watching the observatories as well. So, and working with the observatories as well. So there are definitely liability issues that we've always been concerned about, but there are definitely some advantages for them, for us holding them. Having said all of that, no, there's no advantage for us to continue to hold them if the leases and the subleases are transferred.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, if hearing none, I'll go on to HB 144 and Senate Bill 770. Again, these are companion bills. These are bills seeking an exemption from sunshine for the transition period for the purposes of MKSOA being able to build cohesion and discussing sensitive issues. They agree that no decisions would be made during these non-public meetings. We just found out this afternoon that HB 144 has been scheduled for hearing by the House Water and Land Committee for Thursday. Hearing has not yet been scheduled for Senate Bill 770. This bill is not something that the UH is going to weigh in on or have comments on, but we are monitoring it closely. Any questions on that one?
Do you have a sense, Roberta, do you have a sense of whether these two bills have a chance of passing? Because it sort of creates a way to get an exception to the sunshine law, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, can you do such a thing? Or I guess that's a question for Gary. Gary, can they do such a thing as get a waiver?
Well, the sunshine law is established by statute. So this is a proposal to amend the statute to carve out, there already exist certain exceptions to the general rules about open meetings, and this would be an attempt to just add more. So it's possible to amend the statute if they can get enough support, but it would be contrary to the general principle of the sunshine law, which is transparency and openness. But the law does have some examples already where that's allowed, such as an executive session. And this would be an effort to carve out some more situations.
Okay. And I guess it's specific to MKSOA.
That's correct.
That's the proposal, yeah.
Yeah. They did introduce something like this last session and did not get anywhere. So.
Well, yeah, I don't think it was even heard, right?
Right.
But now it's being heard by
House Water and Land Committee.
House. Okay. And Tarnis, Garrett, Kahaloa, Kila, Marayoshi, and Takayama, they all introduced the bill.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if there are no
Sorry,
questions,
can I ask you another question?
oh, sure.
So under lead 1, lead 2, so it says UH8 is
Mhm,
1, and for those two bills,
mhm.
and they have BOR. You know, I don't know all of I don't know who CFO is, but UHMIFA is under lead 2. What does that mean?
So lead one means whenever there's legislation introduced every session,
Yeah.
one of the campuses is assigned primary responsibility to monitor. And if there's going to be testimony presented, that campus, a representative from that campus would provide the testimony.
Okay.
Lead two is just kind of secondary. We want to flag it. It's important for those groups, and they may get involved on specific aspects of a legislation, but they won't necessarily be out front in all cases.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is the UH.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This is UH, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry for all the alphabet soup here.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, moving on real quick. Senate Bill 6. This is the measure introduced by Senator Inouye again that seeks to keep the Conservation District Authority with DLNR. There is no companion bill, and a hearing has not yet been scheduled. But basically, this is an update of what she introduced last year, seeking to make it real clear that BLNR should retain oversight and permitting responsibility, regulatory responsibilities for the conservation district, and there should be no exemptions. They go further and actually ask for some additional clawbacks of the authority's authority that Act 255 provided them. So those are things that Senator Inouye has added to this version of her bill. As I said, no companion bill has been introduced, and there's no hearing yet scheduled. Senator Inouye, however, had scheduled an information briefing for tomorrow on MKSOA's annual report to the legislature. And she had asked Doug Simons and I to attend. But we were notified this afternoon that briefing has been canceled and will be rescheduled. There was no reason given. So the briefing that MKSOA was supposed to be providing is not going to happen tomorrow. I did speak with Senator Inouye yesterday just to ensure that I was prepared in the event. I mean, this is supposed to be a report by MKSOA, but in the event that I was going to be asked anything. One thing that she said she had done for tomorrow's meeting, had it were it to be occur, is that she had actually also invited the HHL chair, Kali Watson, to the meeting. She has specific questions for DHHL regarding this whole issue of their ownership of the section of the access road that runs through DHHL lands further down the Mauna. In particular, she's concerned about the response during emergencies or storms. Typically, DOT has been responding if there's like a tree down or HPD has been responding if there's an accident. Our folks, our rangers and our utilities crews have also responded in those situations, particularly if clearing the road was required. Our guys have gotten out there and helped with some of that. So, Supreme Court has opined that that section of the road belongs to the HHL. So she wants to know what their plan is to participate and ensure public access is being ensured, especially during those times. But as I said, the briefing is not going to happen now. And then the last one is SB 197, introduced by Senator Favela, relating to public notice of land use decisions of public lands. Specifically, he calls out Mauna Kea, and is seeking to have all land use decisions concerning Mauna Kea be subject to public referendum. It also addresses public notice requirements for land use decisions for DHHL, DLNR, and other UH lands. He introduced this bill or some version of it last year. It did not go anywhere. I'm not hearing anything about this particular bill this session, so I don't know if it's anything's going to happen with it. So those are the legislative update that I wanted to share with you folks. Any questions?
Can I ask a question, Greg?
Sure.
On the last one there that you talked about, can you say what is a land use decision? At what level is that?
It's not clear from the legislation, but if I were to apply it to anything that requires a conservation district use permit, it could apply to something that you folks wanted to do, or like as an example, we have to get a conservation district use permit, to install and replace the fuel tanks, that whole project. I suppose that requires a CDP. I suppose that could constitute or be an example of a kind of project that could be subject to referendum if his bill were passed. Any other questions on this? I do have a few other things to go over with you folks.
I just have a question. So were these the only two other, the HB 143 and Senate Bill 769 and HB 144 and Senate Bill 770? These were the only two bills that came up last year, right? Or was there more? Well, because what else? Weren't there a lot of issues with the act itself that needed to be clarified? And has that all been resolved and we're just down to the conservation district use permits and Sunshine Law?
Well, Sunshine was there last year. The issues around conservation district use oversight that are not addressed in Act 255 directly, those are the most complicated. So definitely 143 and 769 are trying to address at least a major issue, a major question. There are some other issues about, like Act 255 grants the authority authority, I think it's, Jesse, remind me if I'm right, this is HRS 205, Chapter 205, which is the Land Use Commission authority to designate conservation lands or conservation district boundaries for land. It's unclear exactly what the authority is being granted or delegated through Act 255 when it comes to that. So there are some things like that that are also probably need to be cleaned up as well. But we know, at least from UH's perspective, the issue of the permits is a major one.
No other questions for me.
Okay, anyone else?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit. You folks also in your packet got a copy of this memorandum regarding the executive order that the Trump administration issued last week regarding a temporary pause of agency grant, loan, and other financial assistance programs. You know, it's obviously has been a highlight and spot in the spotlight in the news cycle for the last week. You know, the executive order, when it first came out, obviously threw everybody, including the whole UH system, into chaos because of in the case of UH, all the grant monies, federal grant monies that come in to support different programs and the research. And it affects research activities system-wide, including IFA. IFA researchers do apply for and get federal grants from National Science Foundation and others, for example, NASA. And it does affect at least a subset of the MKOs who receive federal funding, such as Gemini, SMA, VLBA, IRTF, and UCURT. So our concern at CMS is that the impact to us would be through if there's a stoppage or cut in federal grant awards to the MKOs, to what extent would that affect their ability to pay for the support services CMS currently provides through our support service group? If the MKOs could not pay for services such as road maintenance or use of HP, or all of, even if it's just for some of those services, we would have to, CMS would have to look at our operations and the adjustments that may be needed. When this came out, we started to look at various MKO funding scenarios and how that could impact our budget. We do have an MKO director meeting coming up later this month where I'm going to be asking, we put this on the agenda because we need some feedback from the MKOs. But we started as to how they see themselves being impacted. But we did start to just internally go through the exercise of looking at impacts to our budget. We'll continue to assess our options and are monitoring the administration's decisions. UH system, in particular in the regions, and President Hensel are monitoring this closely, and they're in close contact with not just state officials, but also our Washington delegation. There is a special Board of Regents meeting on Thursday President Hensel will be providing an update on what the university is doing and what we think could happen should, as you know, the executive order was paused because of the outcry and the disruption it was causing. So it was paused, but we anticipate that at some point there through this mechanism or some other mechanism there will be some cuts in federal funding that even to awards that have already currently been awarded. So we're watching this closely. As I said, President Hensel will be doing a update on Thursday, and everybody's just sort of not holding their breaths because we don't know how long this could go on. I don't know if any of our regents want to weigh in on anything regarding this, but I just wanted you folks to know that there are potential impacts to us, and we are looking at how CMS operations might be impacted or might need to be adjusted.
Just an update, Greg. There was a temporary restraining order approved in Federal District Court in Rhode Island that went beyond just the memo that rescinded the original executive order. And it gives the TRO basically says all federal agencies are supposed to continue with what they're supposed to be doing. And it gives the plaintiffs to March 14th to file additional arguments in their favor. If you want, I can send you a commentary as well as a copy of the restraining order.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen the restraining order itself. We got a copy of the memo from you, but the original memo. I never saw the actual copy of the restraining order.
Okay, I'll email this to you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this particular item?
So, Greg, when you said you started doing cursory analysis, I mean, are we talking like 50% of your budget goes away? Funding?
Well, our support services side of the house, that budget is paid for by the observatories, including we contribute, CMS contributes because we use the road and other things, but IFA contributes as well. But the bulk of it is through the observatories, as Andy knows. That budget is about $5.5 billion a year. So what I asked Nahua and the team to do is look at various scenarios. If there was a 10% cutback that folks had to was going to be made to their grant funding, or 25%, that sort of thing. What would the impact to us be? It would not be pretty, I know that. Because we run right now on a no profit basis, right? We run on a zero base budget.
Well, it's going to start at NSF and roll down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's okay.
Okay. So then the last thing I had was just going back to the regions. As I said, they're holding a special meeting on Thursday to discuss the impact of executive order regarding federal funding. However, the regions have also requested an update on MKSOA's transition progress from MKSOA themselves. So the Board of Regents rep on MKSOA's board, Ben Kudo, and MKSOA Executive Director John DeFees, as I understand it, will be attending to provide their update to the regents. Bonnie and I will be there as well in the event there's questions for us. But this is an opportunity for the regents themselves to hear directly from their rep on the board as to the status of the transition, at least from their perspective.
Okay.
So that's the last of my good news tonight, Roberta.
Yeah. Crazy time. Like,
Yeah.
crazy times. Anybody have any questions or comments on on Greg's report? If not, next agenda item I have is executive session to consult with our attorneys on questions. So is there a motion to move into executive session?
Sure, I'll make the motion. I'd like to move that we move into executive session, Chair, to consult with our attorney on questions and issues pertaining to our powers, duties, and privileges and liabilities pursuant to HRS 925A4. We could get a second.
Yeah, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Diana. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Unanimous approval. We will now move into executive session and return to the general meeting once we adjourn the executive session. See you then. Okay. All right, so I see all the board members. So it is now 7:04. I will reconvene the public Maunakea Management meeting, and I'll turn it over to you, Greg, to summarize our executive session.
Sure. So Chair, we, during the executive session, we discussed, the, Maunakea Management Board's, roles and authorities relative to, some of the decisions that are pending, regarding the transfer of leases and subleases and permits to, the Maunakea Stewardship Oversight Authority. We also sought, input from our council, as to, what, the legal implications of some of the issues are. We did not make any decisions. We did not, make any recommendations, during executive session. It was just, a matter of clarifying, a number of these issues and what exactly, are the implications for the board as well as the, university in general.
Thank you. Let's see, we'll move on to announcements. Nahua or Greg, do you have any announcements that you want to make?
No, I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't have any. I don't have any.
All right. Well, the next meeting, public meeting, will be held on Tuesday, March 4th at 5 p.m. There is nothing else on the agenda. So at this point, everyone have a great evening, and mahalo and aloha. Meeting
Thank you.
at
Thank you. Good night.
7:06.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay,
Good night.